Yeah, so I mean, we jump right into. We don't do the introduction anymore. So,
hey guys, Hillsdale Justice Project.
Actually, no, it's R.O.A.R. coming from
This
Liberty
is
Hall.
coming
from Liberty Hall.
Yeah. All right.
So this is actually our first podcast here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So this
That's amazing, guys.
So we got Steve Wisdom here, my neighbor, and we got Rutan here and Smith here, but we got to get some window treatments here, John.
Well, we need to get
AC.
Yeah, we need to get some sort of air movement here.
We got to put a new door up
because we got to get that.
Some
done
vinyl.
Too. Yeah. Well, one of the things I've noticed is when the sun is in the east in the morning, we get sun through the window in the back, and it heats up.
Yeah, this is warm in here.
When the sun gets overhead, it gets cool in here, and then when the sun goes down in the east, it really heats up by that window.
Well, we
I
might
think if we were to put some
that
blinds
in the
there. Well, yeah, but I think if we put some blinds there for the summertime, we can really reduce the heat without adding extra electric cost.
Well, it is warm in here. I was surprised to
I
feel,
do like
feel
people
how you
looking inside, though.
But I'm used to the heat of North Africa, so I'm all right.
Yeah.
This feels good.
Oh yeah, I like the window being in the front so they could see. I think if I can ever get that custom table or whatever, I would like it to where these microphones are different, like not like it feels like there's a lot of microphone arm here.
So you want us
there's
all
always been a lot of
staring out
microphone arm. The new table's not going to reduce the arm.
I think what it will do is we'll be able to
I could do the same thing here. I could drill holes and put them in.
Exactly.
And
so
in fact, I want to put a couple grommets in anyway, and we might as well do that if we're going to use this table for a while until we get the other one.
Well, regardless, we got. Well, John, the cat's out of the bag. Obviously, you filed a complaint, right?
Yeah, I filed a Michigan Campaign Finance Act complaint against Sheriff Parker and against the signs that were out and about saying "Vote Yes" on May 7th.
Well, John, isn't that like what would be called frivolous?
Well, it seems to be that the chairman of the board, Mark Wiley, believes that it's frivolous. The problem is everybody thinks that something's frivolous until it's their life, liberty, or property that's infringed, and then all of a sudden it's not frivolous anymore.
That's what I'm thinking. What laws are considered frivolous and which ones aren't, and who determines that?
Well, see, isn't that subjective? That's not objective, is it? Because the law is pretty objective. If it's a frivolous lawsuit, it gets thrown out on the first motion.
Which is why we have a civil court.
Right, and we have civil and criminal courts. So you can't you can. There are times that frivolous things get brought up, but
like a seatbelt ticket.
But the first,
right?
Yeah. But usually in the
motorcycle cop.
Yeah. But there are things that are frivolous, and most lawyers, if it's a standard operating procedure, most lawyers just file a motion to have it thrown out because it's frivolous. And very few of those motions are successful because.
Because the law is the law.
Yeah, the law is the law. You either have a right to file or you don't have a right to file.
So there's no really such thing as frivolous unless it's non-basis. Like
there's frivolous in people's opinions.
Right. That's what I mean.
When it comes down, and that's subjective. When it comes down to the objective law, if it's frivolous, it's either not allowed to be filed or it's thrown out on the first motion.
So this didn't get thrown out on the first motion?
No, and the other thing is I'd like to see what Chairman Wiley's statistics are, and I think I'm going to FOIA those. Of course, if that one gets denied for unlawfully, then of course I'll have to go to court on that one.
Well, that's what we're experiencing now. We're starting to do a lot of FOIAs, and
they were denied unlawfully.
They're getting denied.
Well, let's just talk about that. Yeah.
What's that?
Me personally, I'm dealing with extensions. They keep giving me, and then I've never found these codes that allow these extensions.
Yeah, there's not. There's a 5-day.
Why don't you get up closer on that, Steve? By the way.
So,
all right, does it sound a little bit better?
Yeah, because you see how you got to be like mouth to this.
You got to be
You're doing this.
You got to
be. So you might want to move the.
You're
microphone.
talking across it, not into it. So move your boom up. Point your mic down.
Yeah, there you go.
No. Boom up. Mic down.
There you go.
There you go. Now talk right into it.
You can hear me good now.
That's way better.
Come sit by me, Penny.
Oh, by the way,
Penny. All four be here.
By the way, Penny's here watching our show here.
So let's get into the FOIA first.
Yeah, let's do the FOIA.
Let's go through. I filed 2 Michigan Campaign Finance Act complaints. One was for signs that were unlawful. They didn't follow the legal.
And who was that, John?
I'm not.
It was just a citizen out here that had those signs, right?
Well, basically, Lieutenant Moore said said on Facebook that there was a problem with that because there was a citizen that had this brought upon them, and they just stepped in to be the treasurer.
And I forgot who the person was.
Here's the thing: I have no animus.
No, because we had the same situation when we ran your campaign last time.
Sure, I have no animus against this person other than the Michigan Campaign Finance Act is there to make sure that competitions are done fairly.
Right.
And I don't know of anybody that would say that they would appreciate an unfair competition, right?
I agree.
So I believe everybody can agree that competition should be fair. And that's what the Michigan Campaign Finance Act is there for, is to make sure that competitions are done fair.
And I think it really lies upon people that are already in power.
That's where most of it is, but no, even somebody that's just running for the first time, the law is there, and the responsibility is theirs.
How would they be able to abuse that?
Well, by doing things such as producing signs that don't have, let's say you don't start a campaign committee, but you just produce these signs.
Well, I'll give an example. Like if someone like, say, Scott Hepner, chief of police over here, if he decided he wanted to run against, say, for the first time against someone else, he has a huge advantage. I'm not saying he will. I'm not saying he is. Right, yeah. So he's able to take certain advantages. So if he violates the campaign finance, he has a big advantage.
Like this
over
is a real
important
important checks and balance law.
Yeah. Now, I'm glad you brought up Chief Hepner. Chief Hepner also had a ballot proposal.
Okay.
And Chief Hepner followed the law.
Yeah, I didn't see him violating the law.
When he went out to talk about it, he was in civilian clothes, and he wasn't driving a city paid car.
He wasn't advocating.
He wasn't using words as in Section 57 say expressed advocacy.
See, I think that's actually the largest issue here.
He wasn't doing expressed advocacy. He was answering questions to the facts of what the proposal was about.
Well, you saw that, Penny. He wasn't advocating. He just gave us the
facts and figures.
The facts, right?
And that's what they're allowed to do, and that's fair. Because the people need to be educated on what they're voting.
Yeah, like Proposal 1 is a prime example that passed with the marijuana thing. So if you had your sheriff going out advocating, which
against
expressed advocacy,
which I saw him do technically.
Expressed
by the way,
advocacy either for or against. Expressed advocacy doesn't mean that you're voting for it.
Think about this for a second.
No, even if they're voting for it, just because I want it doesn't mean I'm going to allow him to advocate for it. Wrong's wrong.
They're not allowed to do it in their official capacity.
Let me tell you why, Steve. Though, say you're for Proposal 1, right?
Sure.
And I'm the sheriff, and I'm against it. Are you in fear of getting pulled over now?
I feel that way.
Well,
I don't know why. I've always felt.
No, that's you, Steve.
Let's not even go there because we're dealing in a subjective area. Let's go objectively to the law, okay? And the law is Steve being the common Joe.
I'd like to think of myself.
When he says something, it doesn't carry as much weight or authority.
I've always presented that as well.
The elected sheriff.
Right.
And so the Michigan Campaign Finance Act understands that. And so if the sheriff is going to advocate against and you're going to advocate for, then the playing field needs to be leveled, in which the sheriff is not allowed to do that in his official capacity. Now, in his official capacity, he can answer pertinent questions that are neither advocating for or advocating against.
I know we've discussed the technical terminology of like official capacity before in like personal conversations, but
yes.
What is official capacity?
If I use my title, my position,
hey, I'm sheriff.
That's right.
Let's say my position doesn't. Let's say my position doesn't require that I wear a uniform, such as let's say
a
Commissioner
clerical position.
Let's say Commissioner Mark Wiley.
Sure.
So if I go on the radio,
and introduce myself as such,
or someone introduces me as chairman of the board of commissioners of Hillsdale County, Mark Wiley,
I am now officially in official
capacity.
I am
now in my official capacity. So at that point in time, in my official capacity, I can answer specific questions about what it's for, what it's intended for, how it will be used, but I cannot have expressed advocacy either for or against. in my official capacity.
And I think people that run for these positions automatically assume that they know that they are now living a public life as well as a private life, and they need to decide when, of course, they advocate these issues.
Well, the problem is a lot of this has gone on as far back as I can remember.
Yeah, it's overlooked.
The problem is it is overlooked, and a lot of people don't complain because if you do, you get smeared.
Because of trust.
But if you do, you get smeared like I did.
Yeah, it's frivolous.
And
right?
so, and that's all right. I worked in a prison for 8 years. I got thick skin. You can't smear me too hard.
Right.
You're not going to hurt my feelings. So, but other people don't like public ridicule. A lot of people can't handle public ridicule, and
right? Or there's just a spotlight in general,
and that's fine. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying that a lot of people just don't want that. They want to live a peaceful, easy life, and they just don't want that. So I can understand why a lot of people have never complained about it, or very few have complained about it in the past. But the fact of the matter is that law is there, and it's there to ensure that there is a fair competition, a level playing field, if you will. And so it's important that these laws are followed. Now, does everybody, there's a big idea between intent and not intent. So the first complaint that I filed on the sign, the first thing that the Michigan Campaign Finance Act did, or the Department of State did, was they contacted that person. They let them know that what they did was against the rule, and they just gave them a finger wag.
That was a slap on the wrist.
That's right, and that's appropriate because even though the law's there and everybody has the ability to do it, we have to
all
take
human still.
Well, we have to take intent into consideration here, and if someone did it unknowingly without the intent of breaking the law, then it's only fair that they should be warned what it is. But after they've been warned what it is, and if they're in a capacity such as, let's say, a prosecuting attorney who's supposed to know the law, or a judge who's supposed to know the law, or a sheriff who is supposed to know the law, especially if they've done it in the past and have been admonished for it, now you can make a case for willful and knowingly violating the law.
That's why I don't have any sympathy here, because also we know that Stan Burkhart and company threatened, like, Tammy Dow, for an example, with this.
No, in 2012, they threatened Tammy Dow, but in 2012, when Scott Hodshire was running and I was running, I remember they immediately contacted Scott Hodshire and threatened him with a Hatch Act complaint because on his flyers he was pictured in uniform. And so Scott had to spend extra money to go out and get a picture taken. Of course, he can't afford to have all those redone, so he had to have pictures made, and he had to take all the time to stick them on over the top of that picture to be in compliance. And then in 2016, when Tammy Dow was running with me and Sheriff Parker, she received a threat, and I will call it what it is, a threat from that administration, the Burkhart administration, that they were going to file a Hatch Act complaint on her because she was pictured in uniform running for sheriff. The difference is, at that point in time, under the federal Hatch Act, as long as she wasn't receiving federal money, she was allowed to do that under the Federal Hatch Act. So she, at that point in time, was still a certified police officer, but she was not working for the department, nor was any of her pay coming from federal funds. So she was, as far as I believe, 100% legal in doing that. Now, if someone else had a problem with that, then they shouldn't have threatened it. They should have pulled the trigger, right? Right. And at that point in time, then people in positions of authority where they're at that can make those decisions could have made that decision. But they didn't pursue it any further. I happened to see that Lieutenant Parker at the time was receiving federal funds. And he had 3 billboards with himself in uniform. All of his flyers he had in uniform. In fact, one of the other things that I should have complained about that I didn't is we had one person that was on the election commission.
I don't mind saying it. Just say it, John.
I'll compliment him on his beautiful campaign financing abilities.
No. Well, we had a treasurer, the treasurer department.
The 3 people that are on the county election commission are the county clerk, the probate judge, and the county treasurer. At the time, the county treasurer was Gary Leininger, And Gary Leininger very proudly had his name all over Tim Parker's flyers as endorsing
Explain
him.
why this is real bad, actually.
Well,
That was probably worse than even Sheriff Parker's campaign
ethically,
issues.
well, I didn't realize this towards the very end, and I knew Gary was on his way out, and because he was stumping to get.
So at this time, he's the
guys who were
current
elected.
treasurer, which means he's part of the executive board that oversees these
He's in
election
charge
issues.
of the purse.
Well, he's
well,
okay. Let's
no,
go like this.
no.
You ever wonder why judges run nonpartisan? The reason why judges run nonpartisan is because in a court of law, they have to be seen as impartial.
I'll understand that. Yeah.
So people that are on the election commission have to also be seen as impartial. That's why Marnie Cass takes all the pains that she does.
County clerk.
County clerk. That's why she takes all the
these
pains.
clerical positions need to be nonpartisan.
Well,
Well,
they're
not
not clerical.
Depending on the position she's in,
I understand why you say that, though.
She's controlling. The ballots. She's signing
lot of
people up
Versus
to
a voting
run.
position.
Yes.
So just think if you had a county clerk that decided she wanted to support one candidate over another, and so one candidate comes in and she helps them with the paperwork and tells them what to put down, and then the other one she keeps sending them back that the paperwork's wrong. In essence, she can, through default, make sure that someone gets elected that shouldn't. Now, County Clerk Marnie Cass she's golden in my book. She does everything she can to look completely
she's been
transparent.
quite amazing. I mean, I don't know how she does it.
I don't know how she does it.
She's been doing it a long time, too.
Yeah, she has. But she does a great job of being completely unbiased and nonpartisan. Even if she's got personal views in one way or the other, no one could ever tell because she does it very fair.
So that's how the treasurer.
That's our goal.
That's the treasurer is supposed to be,
exactly the
too.
goal. And so because we have to have faith that our elections are run fair, and because if not, you've got the Ukraine, right? You've got Venezuela. So in America, we have to make sure that our elections are clean and run fair, and that it's a fair competition.
So
and it's a level
Gary
playing
was
field. treasurer,
and here he is. He's a part of the executive board that overlooks these voting and or what is it, John? The
election commission.
The election
county
commission.
elected-
He oversees all this, and here he's going out and putting his name on Tim Parker's flyers.
supporting.
Oh, I see
Yeah.
where we're making this
endorsing
connection
him.
now.
Endorsing him.
It'd be the same as Marnie Cass doing that.
Yeah.
So
So-
at that point in time, by Gary doing things like that, it should never do this, but it lends question to the vote. And
It doubts your vote, right?
Yeah,
Well,
that should never be.
That's almost a legacy at this point.
Also, what if
There you go.
if you were to complain about something, you would doubt his position that he would even help to recount or do. He would do everything in his way to stop that.
And you should never, ever, ever, in a position like that, give anyone.
It's a false sense of security.
If I can think of the wording, it's been a long night. I'm sorry, I just got done with the Federalist 45. But if anyone can question your motives, ethically you're wrong already. And so you have to be so far above reproach that no one can question your actions or your motives. And Marnie does an excellent job at that. Judge Bianchi does an excellent job at that.
We're happy to have him.
But Gary Leininger did not. And so that's 33%.
And that's
of the
actually, in
commission.
my opinion, worse than whatever these campaign
exactly.
finance stuff is.
That was bad.
That's pretty damning.
And then the other thing is, his son runs the Farm Bureau insurance agency, and they do a thing where they bring all the candidates in and ask them questions, and then they support someone.
And that's why
Well,
we
it was
so heavily
no-brainer that who they supported, right?
And that's why we so heavily discussed intent on these newer issues.
Well, intent is a big part of the law, right?
I agree.
You're not supposed to just, oops, I broke a law, now I'm going to jail forever. No, there's got to be a level of intent. Of course, there's some crimes that it doesn't matter about the level of intent. If you are brainlessly doing something stupid and
Like
you
drunk
hurt
driving.
or kill someone.
Involuntary manslaughter.
Or negligence, right? There's
exactly.
negligence. You didn't go out because if you had the intent, of course, it's not negligent.
Unfortunately,
you were stupid.
Snap second decisions last a lifetime.
Right. But the fact is, most other cases, there's got to be a level of intent for there to be a level of guilt.
So you filed on this stuff, and now we're getting denied on our FOIAs.
Well, yeah. Let's go through the two Campaign Finance Act complaints I made. I made one on Sheriff Parker for going around and giving expressed advocacy in his official position.
Yeah.
And then I also did one on the sign being illegal because they filed a campaign committee, but they failed to put the address or phone number, any contact information on the sign. So no one could contact or research the people that are actually supporting this ballot.
Which is required by law.
It's required by law. And so
Awesome.
on that one's a closed case. That one's all said and done, because what they did was they went to that gentleman. They said, look, this wasn't right.
Right.
You're supposed to do these things. And so here's the finger wag. Don't do it again. And I'm
That's
all right
fine.
with that. That's
Yeah.
fine. Because, in the future, he'll know. And also it's raised awareness to other people that might want to run, and they go, oh, I got to put that on there. It's also in the law, and the law is right there. You can anybody can research it. That's what I love about the 21st century. You got Goggle.
Yeah,
You
it's
can Goggle
amazing.
anything.
Yeah.
I know it's
Goggle.
Google. I know it's Google, but anyway, so those were the two complaints that were put in, and so the first one was settled already. That was done. I'm all right with that. And the second one, what they did was they sent me a letter and said that they had notified Sheriff Parker of my complaint, and they were giving him a chance to respond. And so he had so many days to respond. And in between that time, he had sent Under Sheriff Albright to the County Commissioners meeting to ask or to request that Sheriff Parker should be able to hire a lawyer that specializes in Michigan campaign finance to answer the complaint on his behalf at county taxpayer expense.
Which is a different lawyer than, of course, my public defender that I pay for regularly.
Well, the public defender isn't the lawyer for the county. The
Why
county.
wouldn't she defend him?
No, listen, Steve. What it is the county has their own attorneys that protect
the
them.
county has their
against this.
own attorney.
Like
You guys-
attorney firm.
I understand that everybody understands this but me, but do you
Yes.
see my confusion?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, public defenders are for people like you and I if we go out and break the law.
Sure.
Okay,
But
so
yet he broke the law.
Yeah,
Why
but
is he not
because
public?
he's not under.
Well, we're going to confuse a bunch of issues. Let me continue on with this, and
Yeah,
then I think
no
your question will be answered. And that is, so Under Sheriff Albright came to the county board and asked if that Tim didn't want to use the current lawyer for the county because that lawyer had given bad advice on some employment or employee issue. And he wanted to go with a specialist in the area that deals with Michigan campaign finance. And so it was brought to a vote, and 4 of the 5 commissioners voted yes to go ahead and pay $162 an hour for his lawyer. And Commissioner Games was the only one that dissented on the vote.
So that's Caswell, Shaw, Wiley,
And Brown.
and Brown that voted yes
And
to hire an external attorney
for Tim.
for Tim
For Sheriff Parker.
for Sheriff Parker that's not a county employee.
Right. Okay. So now
So
What-
we
what-
only
what
have
was that,
one
Penny?
honest person in the bunch.
No. We got one person that thought clearly and said that's
okay. Yeah.
Well,
that's not yeah.
whether that person, and we're going to get into it a little further here when we get to something more current, Article 7, subsection 6 of the Michigan State Constitution. But so now, after they devoted to do that, Commissioner Brown brought up, well, if there's any fines or anything, were they going to pay those? And if the consensus was yes, they were going to pay them. And Under Sheriff Albright said, and she said, well, will that come out of the sheriff's budget? And Under Sheriff Albright then, jokingly, I believe, I'm hoping, asked that they needed to add a sheriff's defense line in their budget if they were going to do that, because he didn't think that money should come out of the sheriff's department.
I also don't think he was joking.
So, and I don't think he was either, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on air here. So what happened with that then is later on I received the rebuttal or the document from the lawyer that Sheriff Parker had hired, giving their rebuttal to my complaint. And when they did that, basically they were saying under Section 57,
Quit saying amanaz.
I'm sorry. It's been a long night.
It's
I know.
because we don't have our headsets on.
Well, no, John. He's been teaching. I say too. John's been teaching.
Said it was 45 tonight.
Yeah, so
And
he's been.
it was hot in here.
He's been here since what, 7, 6? I mean, you've been here all day, but
You've
I mean,
been talking all day.
Yeah,
You've been teaching for 4 hours or whatever.
Well, yeah. and-
Talking for 4 hours.
Yeah, and plus the preparation. So anyway, I've been here a while. That's not an excuse. There's 0 meters effective excuse, right?
So what did that attorney say to you?
So anyway, the attorney come down and he said that there was under Section 57.6, Sheriff Parker isn't a public body, but he actually got that wrong because that's under Section 7. So I pointed that out. The lawyer also said that Rutan's a loser. He lost the election, and thereby he's just
Verbatim?
No, well, I'm
Close enough.
yeah.
Damn, it was damn near close.
said that I said that I
saying that he lost the election. He was
I
doing
lost
that.
the election, so this is just a smear
So this is
campaign
all your
against Sheriff
sour,
Parker.
yeah.
Sour grapes.
Now,
Yeah.
my answer to that was I either have a right or I don't have a right to file a complaint. And yes, I did lose against Parker. I lost against Burkhart. I've lost many competitions in my life, and I expect to lose a whole lot more. But I didn't realize that in the law it said that you had to be a winner of a competition to be able to file a complaint.
Thank you.
So that's how I answered that. Anybody can go.
That was
on
actually a pretty good answer.
Yeah. So I thought it was too.
I probably
And I didn't pay
never thought of that.
$162 an hour to have that answer. Because I had to answer the rebuttal myself.
John, yeah,
Don't
you
bill
did.
me for telling me that.
Yeah,
all
you
right?
did, John, because your time's worth that much.
Yeah, okay. No, I don't think so. My dad used to say it wasn't worth a nickel. But anyway. So I had, there was 8 bullet points that I compressed the lawyer's rebuttal down into 8 bullet points, and then I answered each bullet point one by one. And I sent
Which is
that
what
back.
we've seen online, correct?
No, yeah, that's online. So one of the other issues is during that time, and one of the things that I wanted to do was to have evidence to support my rebuttal, was I filed an FOIA, or Freedom of Information Act, with the county board asking for specific times or specific timelines for specific people's emails within the sheriff's department. Because a little birdie told me that a lot of these things.
God bless
little
journalism,
birdies, yeah.
right?
And so that there were things that were talked about that would prove that on those emails.
Yeah.
And I have no reason to disregard that person's
Well, regardless,
advice.
I mean, it's open to the public,
Right,
so
so
there's no
I
reason
had
not
a
to.
dream. I was the one that told you. I had a
Was
dream,
that
and
it?
it came to me in a dream.
I
and
have
I
a
told
dream. So anyway, so I went ahead and FOIA'd those things, and I was very specific about the dates and the people of the emails that I wanted.
Okay.
I received a letter from. Oh yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Penny.
Penny pulled them up for me. But I wanted all the incoming and outgoing emails from J.J. Hodshire from the 1st of January 2010 till his exit as undersheriff, and all of the incoming and outgoing emails from Stan Burkhart from January 1st, 2010 till his exit, and all of the incoming and outgoing emails from Undersheriff Boardman from January 1st, 2010 till his exit. And then, because what I wanted to show was the same thing was going on then, with the same
Criminality.
a culture.
It shows a history,
Yeah, a culture of
a timeline of history of criminality,
a culture of the intent to violate the Michigan
That's correct.
Campaign Finance Act.
and which is criminality. Let's
Right.
be honest.
Okay. I don't determine that, though. The MCFA does. But then I asked for all incoming and outgoing emails from Sheriff Parker from January 1st, 2014 till present, Lieutenant Todd Moore from January 1st, 2014 to present, and Under Sheriff Albright from January 1st to 2014.
Which all can be put on one
to present.
disc.
Well,
They should still
I
have
con-
all this information.
Oh, they have it all still.
They do. In fact, by law, they're supposed to.
I have to
say
save
that.
my tax
Unless, of
information
course, you're
for-
Hillary Clinton and you're
Right.
using your private
That's what I'm
email and your own servers, then you can get rid of it.
NASA videotaped over the moon landing, so anything's possible, guys.
So-
anything's possible.
But anyway, so I contacted. I used to work at Jackson College, so I contacted some people that are highly qualified through Microsoft. They have all of the qualifications, and I also contacted 3 network engineers, and I presented it to them and asked them how laborious this would be. And the one said, if you could FOIA my emails over the last 10 years, and he said, I do lots of them. He said in 10 minutes I could put them all on a thumb drive.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah, it's not much data.
Yeah, this is beautiful things
It's
about
all text.
beautiful things about computers.
Terabytes aren't big anymore.
It's I mean, it's not even a gig.
Yeah, it's not even
It's
a
not
gig.
even a gigabyte of information.
No, it's not even probably. It's not even a half of a gig.
So
So
basically,
the Avengers was more information.
Yes.
So basically, what happened was Chairman of the board, Mark Wiley, is the FOIA coordinator for the county, and he denied the FOIA
Thank you,
request. Yes, thank you so much. He denied the FOIA request. Basically, he said that this letter is in response to your FOIA request. The county cannot respond to your request because it does not sufficiently describe the information being requested so as to enable the county to identify the records being sought as required by MCL 15.233, paragraph 1, and applicable case law. The county will review your request again if you submit additional information to more specifically identify the public records being sought. Now, I don't know how to
how do you
make
get
it
it
more
more
specific.
Right.
Other than go there and look over Dave Holcomb's shoulder as he pulled him up and went that one, and of course he doesn't want me to do that, and I don't want to do that. So the problem with Commissioner Wiley's letter is it violated the Michigan FOIA law.
Well, it wasn't dated. There's a lot of issues with.
Yeah,
that
there was a
letter,
lot
right?
of issues with it. Number one, the Attorney General put out a sample denial letter in which it was specifically designed to be compliant with the Michigan FOIA law.
And this Michigan FOIA law isn't just a small, frivolous law like the original.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's
The intent is to be completely transparent.
transparent. Yeah, which
in
we
government
open this
to the
conversation
people.
with.
That's right. So basically, when he said that, I started doing some research and I looked, and that sample letter says there has to be a date, number one. Number two, there's 2 paragraphs that they have to put there, but they're obligated by law to do. One of them is informing me of how and who I send an appeal to. That was absent, so I have absolutely no way to file an appeal because there was no provision in the letter, no contact, no POC for me to send.
You can't even file appeal probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or you probably could, but it's weird.
But where? How do I do it?
Exactly.
Because it's not in the letter. I don't know. There's nothing that says who I'm supposed to send it to.
Right.
Because that, by law, is required to be in the letter.
But
The
you
second-
should just know who to send it to.
No, that's what he's saying is wrong with this letter.
Yeah. And then the second paragraph is supposed to let me know that I can file a circuit court appeal, or a circuit court lawsuit, albeit they'll call it frivolous, but I have the ability to file a circuit court lawsuit and to appeal their final decision after the appeal. But because I don't have an appeal process, basically it says pursuant to Michigan compiled law 15.240, because your request was denied, the department is obligated, now notice that word, obligated, which means under the
Forced.
law,
Yeah.
to inform you that you may do one of the following. Number one, appeal this decision in writing to the Department of blank. Well, what department do I appeal it to here because it wasn't there? The writing must specifically state the word appeal and must identify the reason or reasons for reversal of the denial. So I have to give them the reason, my argument of why I think it should be reversed. Well, I wouldn't know that because it's not on the letter. The head of the department or his or her designee must respond to your appeal within 10 days of its receipt. Under unusual circumstances, the time for response to your appeal may be extended by 10 business days.
I feel
No.
like this is common practice. I've dealt with this personally, and it's a repetitive action that you're going to keep continually dealing with.
Well, the problem is there are provisions in the law to get relief under the law.
Yeah, there's a grievance here.
There's
now.
a grievance process to get relief under the
Like
law.
statutes of limitation, like a time period issue? Or
No, this law right here that I'm reading, this is how to address my grievances. This is
but
how
are
to
you
bring
gonna-
my
what is
redress
your
of grievance to the
appeal?
government.
How are you going
By doing this lawsuit here.
Well, but the thing is, if they would have told me what department I needed to
Right.
send the appeal to, and that I had to have appeal at the top of it, and that my arguments have to say
You have to have a
why
law
I
degree
want
to
it
make your
reversed,
appeal.
then I could have done
No,
that. But
you
I can't do that because none of that information is in my letter, and it's specific to Hillsdale County, so I don't know how to do the appeal, right? Okay, so that by obligation, it says the department is obligated. That means the law supports that they are supposed to do this. This is why the Attorney General did this sample letter for county
Steve's trying to say, how does a common Joe know this?
Well, that's the
right,
thing.
that's where I'm getting at.
That's
Like,
what the law. That's why the law is written and says that they're obligated to put these things in because the common Joe doesn't.
Well, still, a common Joe would struggle with that too.
it's written above your head.
So
Yes,
so
that needs to be needs to be the denial
so
letter.
in reality today, if you lived in Hillsdale County or Hillsdale City or anywhere in Hillsdale, I guess, if you will, and you made a FOIA and this is what you got back, you would not know about this appeal. You would not know about a lawsuit
No.
issue.
You would have to rewrite your own format to
Okay.
your request.
Okay.
There's no format for these requests.
Well, the
guys.
problem is I have no place to send it. I don't know where
Exactly.
to send it because there was nothing in the letter that
Just
told
to
me
the director.
how
Right.
to get redress for my grievance.
So if I just made a random FOIA and I got your response back, what would I as
Well,
a
most-
common Joe?
you would probably
most
just
people
quit.
most people just quit, and I think that was the intended goal.
I agree.
Now-
That's what they intended you to do.
At least, at the very least, it was an intended to make me just stop. At the very most, it was intent to cover up evidence that I need.
Both simultaneously.
Now, you can take that however you want to, whether I'm calling them criminals or not, but
or
that is what it is. What I
I'll
said.
do it.
So,
yeah.
so because of that, now on the second paragraph it says that I can file a lawsuit with the circuit court if the appeal comes back and it's still denied. Okay, the problem is I can't file an appeal, nor can I file something to go in circuit
you're
court.
in a limbo.
So the only thing I can do,
Like purgatory?
no, wait a minute. Now hold on here. The only thing I can do is file a circuit court lawsuit against the county for violating the law on denying my FOIA. Now I'm not filing a lawsuit against the appeal denied.
Mm-hmm.
I'm filing a lawsuit because they didn't follow the law for me to even be able to file an appeal. So if they want to sit around and call that frivolous, hey, I didn't start the problem. I have no other recourse than to sue the county.
They frivolously
They
denied you.
created it. Well, no. If they would have just followed the law and given me a denial letter the way they were supposed to, then I could have filed the appeal process and done it that way. But they didn't. So they created a situation where I have to sue, and now they're going to sit around and marginalize me and call it frivolous. Hey, I didn't create the problem. I'm solving it. So this
That's
is
discouraging.
Yeah, well, it's just follow the law. So I love it in the last county commissioners meeting how
This came out in the news.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
posted it? Was it Fry or was it Murray?
I know Fry.
I don't know. It came out in Hillsdale Daily News. But the fact of the matter is, it was reported that
See, he's on it.
Commissioner Wiley said that 80% of the lawsuits in the county, which cost him about $800,000, come from one group. Well, we all know what group he's talking
What
about.
group is that?
But the problem is,
We'll just guess.
that is not. I would like to see his objective data.
The college group?
No, I would like to see his objective data to
I
make
also
that.
assumed it was a Hillsdale College, John.
I would like to see that objective data to say that it was 80%, right?
Well, I want to see what group.
If I'm going to make claims, I should have data, empirical data, to say what that is. He had empirical data to say how much the county spent, but he didn't have any empirical data to say that this 80%.
Well, he had
How many
the data there
lawsuits?
to show how much they spent.
Yeah, so he had empirical data for that, but he didn't have empirical data
Are you
for the
sure?
rest.
Well, he said empirical data. He said 800,000.
Right,
But that
but
doesn't
the-
mean it's real.
No.
What happened to
in the
transparency?
newspaper, they had exactly what the amount was: $826,000 some odd dollars.
Did they show that source?
No, they didn't show that source. But which is going to happen is I'm going to file a FOIA request again for the charge sheets from the lawyer to the county in exactly what cases that the lawyer worked on and how much the lawyer spent, because then I'll have empirical data to say whether it was 80% and what group that it's connected to.
Also, you might, we wonder if we're going to get a denial letter.
Well,
it'll be
then,
improperly
well,
denied.
then I guess I'll have 2 lawsuits that are frivolous.
So I wonder what groups get in the cloud.
Well, let me foil it, and then we could be a group.
So now,
It's more than one now.
So now in research today, because I haven't had the opportunity to research the Michigan Constitution on this issue because I've been busy putting together curriculum for the Federalist Papers. And in doing so, someone contacted me today and reminded me of Article 7, subsection 6 of the Michigan Constitution.
Yes, sir.
Now, with that, here's exactly what the state constitution says on this issue. The state constitution says, and now before I get into what the subsection says, remember I talked about Under Sheriff R.O.A.R coming to the county board and asking for the county to pay for Sheriff Parker's lawyer to respond to this MCFA, and if there was any fees or fines or anything like that they would pay it. Each and every county commissioner takes an oath to the Constitution of the state of Michigan and to the federal Constitution, in which they say they will support, uphold, and defend those constitutions. Article 7, subsection 6 is very clear. I'll read the whole thing, but only the middle part applies to what we're talking about. It says the sheriff may be required by law to renew his security periodically, and in default of giving such security, his office shall be vacant. Now here comes the important part. The county shall never be responsible for his acts, except that the Board of Supervisors may protect him against claims by prisoners for unintentional injuries received while in his custody. And then this last part doesn't really pertain to what we're talking about, but I'm going to read it in its entirety. He shall not hold any other office except in civil defense. So basically,
even if you read that really fast, it still seems simple to me.
Yeah, it doesn't take a brain scientist to figure it out.
Why
or
don't
a
you
rocket
explain
surgeon.
that? Explain it, John, because I didn't get it at first. If you're sort of just having this on the background, just listening to it, this is actually really important.
Yeah, basically, if you look at the first complaint on R.O.A.R that's set up there, what the complaint was and what the Department of State sent to me in informing me that they had contacted Sheriff Parker and given him so many days to respond, at the very top it says Rutan v. Parker. It does not say Rutan v. County of Hillsdale. During that whole meeting when Under Sheriff Albright was asking for them to pay for Sheriff Parker's lawyer, Commissioner Brown kept saying, we need to defend the county against this lawsuit. It wasn't a lawsuit.
It's not the county.
And it's not it's not a lawsuit. It was a complaint, and it was against Sheriff Parker. So basically, if it's against Sheriff Parker, and his lawyer argued that he's not public body, which he is public body, but they say he's not public body. Okay, if that's the case, if he's not part of the public body, and he's Sheriff Parker, then it says that the county, let me pull it up here again. It says, the county shall never be responsible for his acts. Okay, well, the complaint was a complaint about his actions. In fact, the complaint said Rutan v. Parker. So if the Constitution says the county shall never be responsible for his acts, that means that Sheriff Parker was supposed to pay for his own lawyer, and it was not supposed to come out of county funds. But 4 out of 5 commissioners voted against the state constitution to pay for that
For a specialty
out of
lawyer.
county funds. Now, if they vote that it's supposed to be paid out of county funds, that they're saying that he is part of the public body. So which is it? Is he part of the public body and covered under 57, which his lawyers argue
Or
the public
7.
body
Is
is
under 7.
under 7? Or is he an elected official and not covered under that? And if that's the case, then shouldn't he be bearing all of the cost? So here's the problem.
Out of his personal
What
account.
we're doing is we're
Hey guys, did you guys listen to Rutan's voice get all excited and went from
yeah.
husky?
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, keep talking.
So,
It's cool.
but I'm trying to get a point across here without without too much interruption, and that is, you can't have it both ways. You're either one or the other. You're either the elected official and you owe all of it on your own pocket, or you are the public body, and at that point in time, then his lawyer actually argues that he is guilty.
For a prime example, like John Schilling, what happened with John Schilling?
Yes.
He worked for the county.
He was an employee of the county.
He needed to hire an attorney. Did the county pay for his
No,
attorney?
and they never even took a vote up to author
So why
such.
all of a sudden they're just randomly going to take? So if one of the county commissioners decide that could they vote for each other's attorneys too?
Well, I don't know. Like, let's say you're in a position as a county official, and there's a huge conflict of interest, and somebody sues. Do you get a lawyer paid for because you committed an act?
And we put someone in position there already that could potentially run into some conflicts of interest, which would Commissioner Tim Shaw.
Yes.
There might be some conflictions there because he's on my council board in Somerset. He's a fire chief of Addison, and I don't know if he's on any other boards, but we might run into some conflictions there. So if he violates the law,
they have contracts of
that's correct. There's contracts within the county
to
Tim
give
Shaw's
support.
on your township board?
as a trustee. Yep.
Okay.
So what I'm wondering is if there is some sort of violation there, if there is a grievance there,
Right.
would they vote for his attorney?
And now here's part of the problem. If there's an issue and the people have to, under the First Amendment, have the right to redress grievances with their government, there's only one place they can do that, and that's through the court. But the minute they do that, the same people that are elected officials will complain that it's frivolous and try to marginalize those people in the press. That doesn't seem very professional, honorable. That doesn't seem like something that an elected official should do.
Yeah, it's wild, and they would say quite opposite about you too, which is really quite silly.
Yeah. So I will be filing another FOIA request to get that empirical data to either prove or disprove what Commissioner Wiley had to say to the press. And I'm also going to be suing the county for violation of the FOIA law because they did not deny it lawfully. Had he denied it lawfully, then my next step would be to file an appeal.
Hey, guess what I'm going to
rather than a lawsuit.
Guess what I'm FOIAing then? I'm going to FOIA Gary's emails.
Well, there was another FOIA that went in the day after me that wanted the emails of the county commissioners, and that was denied as well.
Oh, that's what I was thinking.
And that was from November of last year until present, during that ballot question.
Yeah, good call.
And right after that, Commissioner Brown contacted one of her constituents and warned them to start using her official county email.
FOIA all you want, guys. They're just going to deny it.
But here's the problem. If you're not using your official county email, and even David Holcomb warned them about this, then your private email can then be FOIA'd, even though it's private, because you've opened yourself up.
Can you imagine what they would find in my emails,
That's
Penny?
a wormhole.
That is. And the thing is, these same people would complain about Hillary Clinton.
Again, it comes back to you guys. Once you sign up for this, being in a public capacity, and you operate in an official capacity, you have to realize that your public life and your private life.
If I ran for a position today, could they FOIA my emails saved from the past?
No.
Okay.
This is the issue. Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Right.
Once I throw my hat in the ring and I become part of the public, then I have to do things in a public manner when I'm dealing with public issues.
No, I know, but from day one when you become public, or what about your past?
No, because I wasn't talking about public issues in my private email at that point.
So
in
they
time
couldn't get the FOIA
where I
on
had a
those.
position of authority. No.
Okay.
It's in my public capacity, in my elected capacity. I need to. Now, these same people that are doing this are the same people that will complain about Hillary Clinton using her private email as a Secretary of State and having a private server. These same people will complain about that, but they don't even understand the hypocrisy of themselves doing the same thing.
Board. Yeah.
Yes.
Because they're all Republicans, right?
Well, they say they are. They do to get elected. But the fact of the matter is, if they're going to complain about someone from the other side doing that, then you can't throw stones in that glass house, right? That's just how it is. I don't make the rules. I just try to play by them.
Wow. That's pretty wild.
So I thought that it was important on this show to bring out the empirical data, the facts, the law, and so that the people that are out there going to be the electorate be fully aware and educated.
I mean,
in
we
their
might
vote.
not be talking, and a lot of us are embarrassed. I'm going to put myself as the average Joe.
Average Steve.
Average Steve, thank you.
Average Steve.
But the average Steve, just plain and
That
simple.
plays well in Poughkeepsie.
Well, we're out here. We're watching. We're listening. We're following. We know. We might be embarrassed. We don't want to be shut down because we don't know everything that you guys know. But we're involved. We're out here watching, guys. So everything that you put out is not falling on deaf ears, Mr. Rutan.
Well, one of the things that I think it's wrong, every time we're critical of our local government, which we're supposed to be, our founders told us we're supposed to be, and we're doing the things that we're supposed to do by being vigilant and being critical, which is what our founding fathers told us to do, we're somehow marginalized in the media. We're marginalized by those in elected positions.
Small town government even marginalized.
They're friends and family.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And yet these are the same people that will
Employees.
they were the same people that will go rah Hillsdale College for teaching that. Well, that's what Hillsdale College teaches, is what our founding fathers said, is to be vigilant and be critical of our government.
Which is
because
why we were
this is
so
the
proud
only,
of the college.
So this is the only way we can keep our republic, right? And so when people that are vigilant and are critical get bashed, it's an attempt to keep other people from being critical and vigilant. And what does that say about our public body, that they don't want people to be critical and vigilant? Just think about that. What does that say?
Yeah, like I like when they're like, "We got nothing to hide." Well, if you got nothing to hide, give us the damn FOIA.
Then why are you hiding?
You know,
Come out with it, will you?
give us the damn FOIA.
You got nothing to hide.
My daddy always
why are you
says, if
hiding?
I don't understand what's going on at the table, someone's not showing us all the cards.
That's right.
Well, that makes sense.
That's true.
What was the other topic that we were going to talk about? Or did we cover all that?
I think we covered that, the whole MCFA issue.
Was that
to date?
Was that all?
Well, let me add this. One person asked me, okay, what's up now? Well, I sent my rebuttal in, and in my rebuttal, I asked for a 10-day extension because the evidence that was denied me unlawfully by the county, I wanted to use for my rebuttal, and I had placed the FOIA in a timely fashion enough that I would have that evidence for my rebuttal, because I was kind of suspicious of what their lawyers were going to say. And I also said at that point in time, because of the culture of corruption, I asked that the MCFA handed over to the Attorney General's office for further investigation, because they can go to a court, they can go to a judge and not be claimed that it's frivolous, and ask that judge to subpoena those records.
Yeah, whatever they need.
For. That's right.
Right.
And so at that point in time, they can investigate it. They can see for themselves whether there's a culture of corruption or not.
Is frivolous a legal term?
It has become a legal term, yes.
So, Steve, you were wondering like why they didn't take, like, say, Kim Berger as an attorney, because they're not going in front of a district court and handling this situation.
Not only that, she could be.
These are criminal charges. I mean, she's
no, it's
allowed
not. It's not
to
criminal.
No,
it's not criminal
these are
charges.
not criminal charges.
No.
No, at this point in time, these are just a complaint. So you can hire a lawyer for any
How come
reason.
me not having a seatbelt's a criminal charge, but him misabusing
That's
all of
not
my
cri-
tax
that's not-
money
that's
is a
not
criminal
criminal-
charge?
that's not criminal
No, wait a
charge
minute.
either.
No, this doesn't mean that it's not a criminal charge what he did. This could go to a criminal charge if the Department of State feels that you did it willingly and knowingly in an attempt
It's
to
an
take an unfair
investigation.
advantage. If they deem that happened, they can turn it over to the Attorney General's office for criminal prosecution.
Is that not a defense attorney he's hiring?
He's hiring a private attorney to
A private
protect
defense
him
attorney.
to protect him before it goes to a place where he needs to have a defense attorney. Now, if you can afford your own attorney, you can hire your own attorney. These public defenders are only there for people who cannot afford to defend themselves.
Sure.
Okay, so that's what Kim Berger is she is a
Court-appointed attorney.
Court-appointed defense attorney. Actually, I think the title that they gave her,
she's
which
got a
is a
different title now.
contracted position, is the Indigent Defense Director for Hillsdale County, but that is a contracted position in which, of course, we've got
Contracted
issues.
position without liability insurance.
Well, yes,
That's another topic.
That's another topic, and that's a good one.
That's they kind of segues into the sheriff, what like their insurance and what they need to be covered for them.
That was the odd thing when Sheriff Albright came to talk to the county commission. Tim Parker had already called the municipal risk assessment people, which are the insurance company, basically.
They're not going to cover.
And they said no, they weren't going to touch it.
See, that tells you right there that he did something outside of his duty.
Well, not only that, they know that they don't, because unless it was a complaint against him because of an injury for an inmate in his custody in his jail, they don't cover it because they know Article 7.
He's working outside of his duty, outside of his official capacity.
Now check me, but I don't think I'm an inmate of the jail.
No, again,
I don't have an
injury.
injury.
A check me thing. Everybody wants to record all of our words and hold us accountable for all the situations, but correct us if we're wrong.
Sure.
That's what the knowledge is for, is to get it out there so we can all learn as a community.
And I'm not afraid to be wrong.
Right.
I've been wrong most of my
God
life.
bless,
I was wrong
right?
this morning when I got up.
That's what my wife told me, at least.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you're afraid to fail, you're afraid
to win.
to win. If you're afraid to be wrong, you're afraid to be knowledgeable.
Agree.
So you have to be wrong.
So forgive me for when I speak out of turn, but guys, I just want to know.
No, and that's fine. A thirst and for knowledge is a good thing. We should be lifelong learners. If we're not, we're stagnant, and what happens with stagnant ponds, they get scummy.
Yeah.
And if we don't want to be scummy, then we've got to be lifelong learners. We don't want to stagnate.
Yeah, so he just hired an attorney. He's trying to protect himself before it turns into a criminal situation,
or in case it gets turned over for criminal investigation.
So we as taxpayers are paying for his.
We're paying for a civil defense attorney.
Well, and let me put up one of the other things is Sheriff Parker's lawyer. Sheriff Parker's lawyer said that the complaint should be dismissed and that Mr. Rutan should have to pay for Sheriff Parker's attorneys. My answer to that was I paid taxes in the spring and winter. I did pay for his lawyer because the county voted to pay for it.
Yeah, I also involuntarily. By the way, guys, I'm still listen. I want you to take this all the way to the top. I'm still waiting to see my consent form that I signed on these taxes.
Yeah, I don't remember getting one either.
Maybe I should FOIA that information.
But that's called a representative government, and if they did not represent you properly, and they didn't because they didn't follow the law, then there's a couple things that should happen.
Technically, Steve, you and I should be filing against this board of commissioners already.
And kind of what they've done is malfeasance in office. And let me tell you, there's no statute of limitations on malfeasance in office. So what they did by violating the Constitution is malfeasance. The other thing that can happen is...
I've been living in Hillsdale County since the 90s, and this isn't a new topic for these folks around here.
No, it's just there's more people more boisterous about it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
One of the other things that can be done is basically if 3 of the 4 wanted to be recalled, very good verbiage for the recall election would be failure to uphold their oath to the Constitution in Article 7, subsection 6 of the state constitution.
Yeah, but how many signatures you would need through the county for that, man?
Well, it doesn't matter. It can be done. And the thing is, because of lack of wanting that many signatures, should we allow our elected officials to commit malfeasance?
There's only...
we got 40,000 people. I'm not saying I understand. We could make the file, but...
No. It's not based on 40,000 people. It's based on a percentage of the amount of voters that showed up for the last national election.
Okay.
Which was
only about 12%.
12? Is it 12?
So if you take 12% of the 40,000, you only have to have a certain.
It was a large
percentage
election too.
Well, that was one of the largest ones in county history. Was the 2016.
So you would
election.
need about 5,000-6,000 people or whatever it is, right around there.
No, I don't think it's 5,000 or 6,000 people.
Yeah.
I thought last time I talked about trying at least
8,000.
Okay, so somewhere between 5 and 8,000.
Okay. But the other thing is this,
Wow.
we're governed by
the population.
Well, but here's the other issue. We're governed by consent, right?
Oh wait, no. It's 12% of the people came out to vote. You said.
Yeah, only 12%.
So that's only 8,000 voters.
Mm-hmm.
So you would need a percentage of the voters.
Yeah, percentage of that.
Well, that's minuscule.
Well, how many? No, it's not. That's a lot.
You're only looking at about 400, 500 signatures.
I think we know 500 people.
Qualified
guys.
signatures.
That's it?
Yeah.
I think we know.
Oh,
500
dude,
people.
400 signatures?
Now here's
that's easy.
We
now
know
here's
that
the other
many.
thing. Let's go back to our history and let's go back to the founding documents. Basically, the Declaration of Independence says that governments are instituted among men to protect life, liberty, and property, and that we're governed by consent. Well, we're not a democracy because we vote. We vote to test the consent of the governed.
Yeah.
So if we can't get signatures to have someone recalled, there's still another election that comes up, right? And at that point in time, you need to voice your consent. You need to voice whether you consent to be governed by people that have absolutely no regard for the Constitution or the rule of law,
Right.
or are you going to vote through consent for people that are going to be limited by the Constitution as it was intended to do, to limit the power of government?
That's my vote.
So in theory, we could look at it a couple different ways. We could look at it. We have an election year coming around here next year.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So do we want to file this recall today? Say if we file today.
Well, here's the other thing. When we do that, we also cost the taxpayers money.
That's what I'm saying.
And there's an election
Yeah.
already coming up. So
Right.
that gives more time to let the people know what has happened and that they have people in their county government that
Listen,
disregard the law and the Constitution that they took an oath
We all
to.
live in the 21st century. Everybody spends money on a daily operation. You can't even wake up and go get breakfast without spending money. Money spent on truth is good money.
That's true.
Well, what I'm saying is, this is how I view it. Would it be wasteful spending if we made a recall today? I think the answer is yes. But
I think with an election coming up, yes.
But isn't it our duty to get them out as quick as possible?
That's what I'm screaming.
Well, because they can cost the county even more money. But they
so
can.
now we're dealing with the same fiscal issues that
Right.
they deal with.
But here's the thing: if they're going to do things against the law, and then complain about being sued, they've already cost the county $800,000, right? Now, they want to say that it's because of frivolous lawsuits, but you know what? I've heard people on that board say, well, if these people don't want to be arrested, then they shouldn't break the law. Yeah. Well, then, let's put that same shoe on. Let's walk a mile in that person's moccasins, right? If you don't want to be sued, don't break the law.
Come
so
on,
I think
you're
that's
stressing me out with that comment.
I know. I'm using it as an example because I hear this all the time, and that's why I said earlier in a comment on social media that it always seems frivolous to other people, but if you're the one that's having your life, your liberty, or your property violated, it's not frivolous to you.
Hey, it's no big deal. CPS is taking your kids. But.
That's right. But if they're taking yours, it's a big deal to you.
What are you going to do? Look out of your blinds and watch them take your neighbor's children?
And I like that when they say, well, only 4 or 5 people are going to die from it. Okay, well, it's not a big deal unless you're the 4 or 5 people, right? Then it's a big deal. And so I guess if you're going to call something frivolous, I guess beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right?
Like I said,
I guess that's a subjective
term? Is that a legal term?
Frivolous is, but the thing is, it's also a subjective term because it's frivolous in one person's opinion, not the person that's having.
Last time I checked, opinion was not a legal term.
Right, but no, frivolous is. If it's frivolous by that person's opinion. It's not frivolous to the person that it's happening to.
We should try
That's
to,
my point.
Agree.
I wonder. I'm kind of curious on how often government gets sued. I wonder if
bad government a lot.
Regularly.
Good government. Not
Yeah,
so much.
well, that's subjective, right? So, I'm wondering, if we go look
Even if
at.
you came at them, they would straight up say no, and the average person would get denied. They would feel defeated. You would feel defeated, and you would just quit and go back to your job.
I wonder if we just did the 5 neighboring counties or whatever, just to see closest counties.
FOIA, just to see.
Yeah, just to see
that would be a good idea.
what
And
the
but the other
average-
thing is we need to break it down per capita as
Of
well.
course.
I honestly think we have a better chance of pulling off Disney on Ice than trying to FOIA the 3 local counties.
No, actually, Lenawee County's really, really good about their FOIAs. I mean, the minute
Really?
they're really good. They're right on top of it with their
Wow.
FOIAs.
It's going to be different per department. And plus, since we're out of county, Steve, we're probably not going to run into too much drama.
Not really, no. Because the other thing is you don't have people marginalizing you in that county. You have them marginalizing you in this county.
They know who John Rattan is.
Do you really think my name's that big around here that they have to just deny everything I want? Read that out loud, John.
Okay, so in 2018, you said 2,030 people voted in. All right, sorry.
But that wasn't a national election, was it? That wasn't a national election, though.
That was a big year.
That was no. That was the one that just passed.
Yeah, that's not.
That was an in between year.
Yeah, that's not in the primary. We got to have.
2010.
No, it's going to be 2016.
16.
Yeah, the general election. It has to be the general.
It was the
election,
largest.
not the
It was the
primary.
largest I think that we've seen.
Yeah, there were a lot of people turned out for that election.
And that was at 12%.
Well, so we already know in our heads that we're not doing a recall because we got an election coming around the corner.
Here's the thing. I haven't ruled it out, and the thing is, it doesn't rest on my shoulders. There's every registered voter in this county has the ability to do that.
I'm taking it off right now.
If they believe that this was malfeasance and that it shouldn't be done, and they don't want those people in charge of their money, they have the right to do that. I can't say no. I can't say they can't do that. They have the right to do that. I have the right to do that. I'm not saying I'm necessarily going to do it, but somebody could if they wanted to, and more power to them. I'll sign their petition. But the fact of the matter is...
I'd sign a petition.
Yeah, I'd sign their petition in a heartbeat. I'd even take one around and get some signatures because my whole family would sign it. Because at the same time, my brother now has to sue the county as well because he was denied illegally and unlawfully on his request for the commissioner's emails from November 1st, 2018. No, my brother Dan.
Oh, Dan. That's right.
From November 1st, 2018 to present.
Hey, John, does John have a suit since they didn't provide him attorney?
I don't know. At this point in time, he may.
Maybe he can bill.
He didn't until that vote.
He can take Nick's bill and submit it to the county and tell them to pay for it.
Yeah.
Do you see how common these issues are becoming?
Yeah. The problem is, as long as Thomas Jefferson said it best in the Declaration of Independence, he said, people will suffer as long as the evils are sufferable rather than right themselves in their situation.
Penny, it's probably around 12,000.
Until those who are affected.
Right. But the thing is, as long as we always affect those that are marginalized and we only affect those that are that we see as lesser, most times we're going to get away with it. We're going to get away with it. The problem is, I've never known how to take a hit and fall down and stay down. I just keep getting up.
It's against my nature.
I just keep getting up.
We just have to tell them as much as they're telling everybody that it's okay.
Yeah.
They're out there telling everybody that it's okay.
We should encourage people to do more FOIAs. That's for sure.
Sure. And the thing
actually,
is,
it's a really easy form. It's free. You guys can do it all personally yourselves.
Yeah. And
on a digital record, every time I've done it, it's
here's the
free.
thing.
It depends.
Yes, they can. But what Steve's saying is just filing it doesn't cost you anything.
As far as the postage, 43 cents, 48, what is it nowadays?
That's if you mailed it. You could go submit it yourself.
Walk it up.
You can physically walk it up. I mean, all this is...
But...
it's not hard to FOIA is what I'm saying.
And the problem is... you ask.
I think it's $9.99 if you want it on a DVD.
I would say a majority of the people have been successfully numbed down by the John Dewey model of public school.
Yeah, just a general.
Yeah,
they could tell you every player and every stat of the people on the
New England Patriots.
And most of them would be hard pressed to tell you who
favorite
their
hockey
township
team,
supervisor is.
Sure,
and that's sad.
Right,
it's really sad.
All right, well, I say we just wrap this up, and I think we talked enough.
I think we talked enough about it.
We got about an hour or so into it.
I'm glad we stayed on topic.
Yeah, this was a solid topic. So
good.
The community needs to know what's going on, so that we don't get marginalized, right? So they're not participating in that.
My grandfather told me a long time ago, people are going to think about you what they want to think about you, and you're not going to change their mind.
That's true.
All you can do is keep being you, and that's all I'm going to do is keep being me.
Hey, that's my line, is it? You do you, I'll do me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, everybody knows my policy.
In the prison,
it's the Steve Wisdom policy. We won't say it over there, though.
Yeah, in the prison, we used to have a saying. It was, do your own bit. Yeah, I'm going to do my own bit. You can do your own bit.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.
Read your constitutions.